Well, welcome everybody to the Information is Healing Tour, engaging the miracle of the human body through the gut-brain connection. I'm your host, Larry Ortega. The crisis is the dismal state of America's mental and physical health challenges. The crisis is how little is understood about the gut-brain connection and its ability to engage the miracle of the human body. Today, we feature 4 experts who are working tirelessly to positively impact this crisis. These 4 experts are blessed with knowledge and life experiences to which they will impart key nuggets of wisdom for you and your family's benefit. We will hear from Zen Honeycutt, from moms across America whose recent defeat of the pesticide immunity shield showed the true power of the people. Next, we'll hear from Troy Casey, the certified health nut, holistic father, author, and creator. Then we will hear from Tara Lee, the Gut Diva, who shocked my conscience when she shared that GMO plants are registered pesticides with the FDA. She'll take a deep dive on that and much more. And rounding out the expert speakers for this event is Cynthia Wilson, wellness coach, kindergarten teacher, and mother. Our goal collectively is to impart key nuggets of wisdom, information that will arm you with resources working to engage the miracle of the human body and its ability to heal itself. We will pierce the shroud of ignorance with information first relating to the current situation in our environment, our food, and our guts. Then we will work to arm you with what we're going to do about it. The success of the what we're going to do about it is highly dependent on your reception of the information and the call to action. The call to action is rooted in understanding that there is a gut-brain connection and that nutrition, that is, the food we eat, can dramatically improve gut health, which consequently will engage the miracle of the human body and its ability to heal itself. Welcome. Again, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. So blessed and everything made possible by our Lord Jesus Christ. I'm so blessed for everybody to be here with me. All these relationships, wonderful people that have come together to talk about how and what we can do better to make our families, our kids live healthier and be better. I would posit this, that if we're not dealing with gut disorders, we're not dealing with mental health disorders. And that seems to be a new-founded thing, but it really isn't. It's something that's been around since 1825, and it was Dr. Abernathy first wrote about it in a book and started talking about it then, and from there it kind of got lost and it got faded. I'm going to go ahead and share some information with you. First of all, we look at the the red line, and you have the yellow bars going up. The red line represents the increase in glyphosate over the course of the years, and you see that the yellow bars actually track, which are the increased autism that we're facing. And it tracks almost exactly to the increased glyphosate. So we know there's a problem there. And then this is the book I was talking to you about. Dr. John Abernathy wrote a book in 1825, and he came out and he said, absolutely, there's a gut-brain connection. And we know that glyphosate is being used all over the place. They use millions of gallons of it every year. And they're using it even just to dry out stuff, which is just like wild. We'll find out more about what glyphosate is doing and how it's harming us. But what we know, what is indisputable, is that there is a gut-brain connection. We're now just kind of finding out about it again. And that actually brings us to our first actually speaker. I'm going to put you on first, Zen, so that you can come back if you can.
Great.
And share what you have, and then we'll go from there. So Zen Honeycutt and I, we met actually in Arizona about a year ago. I was really looking forward to meeting her because I had had heard about her through a mutual friend of ours and the great work she was doing with moms across America. And she's just an absolutely incredible superstar of a person that is making gigantic strides for us and our families in terms of working with informing people, but really getting in the face of DC and saying, hey, what you guys are doing with the laws that you're passing is totally dangerous and incredibly, unfathomable. And she recently wrote, she said that, that our kids are getting it at every almost all branches of government right now, and they're all working against us. And so that leaves it to us. Like Superman's not going to come and save us. It leaves it to us to try to like, hey, we have to do something on our own, and we got to arm ourselves with information so that we'll be able to do that. So with that, I want to go ahead and introduce Zen Honeycutt. Zen, go ahead, take it away.
Thank you so much, Larry. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to share about what's going on in the food supply and how it's connected to our gut because, as Larry's pointing out, it all starts with our gut. And I've experienced this firsthand with my children. I've been running Moms Across America now for over 14 years. We also have a legislative arm now called the Moms Across America Movement. Thank you, Troy. And the legislative arm, we are championing policy and public servants who put children health, safety, and America's future first. And at Moms Across America, our mission is to educate and empower mothers and others with action and solutions to create healthy communities. And we're doing this by empowering community leaders to be global game changers, people just like you. So Larry gave me a very, wonderful, expansive introduction, but really I'm a mom just like most of you. I started because my kids all had allergies. You probably can relate. My kids had 20 different something allergies each. And one of them almost died from pecans in the stuffing on Thanksgiving. Another had autism symptoms when he was 8 years old. And I recovered their physical health within weeks or months, a couple of months, maybe one took a little bit more than a year by eating all organic food. And I could tell you all the stories about it, but it really does make a difference. And what you see is that the gut starts to heal. And it does that because when you eat organic, you're avoiding three major things. One is GMOs, the second is glyphosate and or other pesticides, and the third one is food dyes. And all of those are not allowed in organic food. So I'm going to tell you just really briefly about GMOs and glyphosate and how they're connected to your gut health, and then a little bit about what's happening in the world right now. So there's three types of GMOs. There's GMOs that are genetically engineered to have a pesticide built right in. They're called Bt toxin, bacterial thermogenesis. GMOs where the corn rootworm can come along, eat it, and its stomach will explode, causing gut dysbiosis, which is what's going on in our children today. Almost every single kid has gut dysbiosis today, and all of our 20-year-olds too. Crohn's disease, IBS, all kinds of gut issues. I met a beautiful young woman, 23 years old, in DC recently, and she had gut paralysis. Right? Another guy had just chronic migraines and gut issues. Every young person that I meet, that's what you do when you go to DC. You sit across a young person, 20 something years old. They're paid to listen to you. And, they're the staffer for the senators and the representatives. Almost every single one I talk to, if I, am able to have them tell their story, they have gut issues. So this is number one, I believe, because of the Bt toxin GMOs that cause the stomach to explode of the bug, right? That eats it. That's in the corn, mostly the corn that we're eating today, if it's not organic. And then the other types of GMOs are HD or herbicide tolerant, and those resist the herbicides that are sprayed on them. All the weeds die, but the crop continues to live. And that's mostly Roundup Ready or glyphosate resistant. 80% of GMOs that are being grown in the United States and 85 to 95 to 100% of the crops that are grown are GMO. So you can see how expansive this is right now with our agriculture industry. So 80% are engineered to withstand glyphosate, which is Roundup, Ranger Pro. And so we are unfortunately not Roundup Ready. We're not engineered to withstand glyphosate. We consume it. It doesn't wash, dry, or cook off. It goes into our stomach. And what it does in our stomach is atrocious, folks. It is a chelator, meaning it grabs onto the vital nutrients of anything, single living thing it touches. It's an antibiotic, meaning it actually kills off the beneficial gut bacteria and allows for the proliferation of the pathogenic gut bacteria, which means that you've got all these bad guys going on in your gut, and they tell the vagus nerve in the brain to go on attack. So your brain goes on attack by creating the microglia cells create excitotoxins, and they excite your brain neurons, and then they die. And then you've got kids that can't make eye contact, that keep stimming, that have autism symptoms, adults that can't stop watching porn or drinking alcohol or, gambling, whatever it is. We have people that are not satiated because they don't have enough endorphins and serotonin in their gut, right? The gut health messes everything else up. The third type of GMO doesn't sound so bad. It's not genetically engineered to resist herbicides or be a pesticide, but it's genetically engineered to have a desired trait, like salmon being 4 times fatter, 4 times faster, and being sterile, which I'm not interested in. I'm also not interested in the fact that they cause untargeted mutations. And so they can't control them, and the genes mutate. And that's what happens with the third type of GMO, which is called desired trait. It's like apples or potatoes that don't brown, but they're actually rotting. You just can't see them rotting, right? So they're genetically engineered not to show the brown. So things like that, they're just really kind of not necessary. It's just people sort of tinkering with what God made, which was perfect in the first place, just so that they could genetically engineer it and mark up the seed prices 375 times higher, not allow the farmers to sell or trade those seeds, right? They can't keep them. They have to buy new seeds every year. So it's a toxic treadmill of chemical cocktails and GMO sort of entrapment. That's what's been happening with our food supply for the last about 30 something years now. And all of these GMOs harm the gut. So that's what's happening in our food in 75% of our processed food. And so the big culprit is also glyphosate. 80% of GMOs are engineered to withstand it. And glyphosate destroys the gut bacteria. It's a carcinogen. It's an endocrine disruptor. It's a nervous system, causes nervous system damage. It kills off sperm, and it androgenizes baby girls. So it causes nervous system damage and neurotoxicity as well. So it causes mental health issues, reproductive health issues, and physical health issues. So that's the gist of basically what's going on in the food supply. You can go to our website and see momsacrossamerica.org, all the food testing that we've done, school lunches, fast food, most recently military food, Girl Scout cookies, I'm so sorry to say, all loaded with heavy metals. Fast food and school lunches have more toxins than nutrients in them. And military food has levels of aluminum in it that's like 17,300 times higher than what the EPA allows in drinking water. And 100% of the samples were positive for pesticides that are 100% made in China. We're giving China $15 to $20 billion a year to poison our military and our people. And we had more toxins, more pesticides, 62 pesticides in military food. There were about 27 or 29 in school lunches and fast food. So something is going on with the military food, and it's a total tragedy because these are the folks that are risking their lives to protect us. So I'm really, really unhappy about that. And what we figured out is that if this president really did care about our military, he could designate 2% of this military budget, and it would feed the military and our schools with regenerative organic food and training for those farmers to switch over. So it is possible. And I know I probably only have a few minutes left. I didn't keep track of how many more minutes do I have? Maybe 2?
You got a couple more, Zen.
Okay. So it is possible. I want to switch to just a little bit more of what's happening in the world right now. Right now, all 3 branches of our government have people who are basically being traitors to our country, and they are pushing for these chemical companies to have complete immunity from lawsuit. And keep in mind, these chemical companies are primarily Chinese chemical companies. Now, normally, I wouldn't care about that. Look, I'm half Chinese. I'm not trying to drum up xenophobia, but we all know that China does not have our best interest at heart, and they do not sell, products that are, based on health and safety. So this is extremely concerning to me about that issue. So what's happening right now is that the judicial branch has a court case. It's called Henele versus Monsanto, that Monsanto slash Bayer, because Bayer bought Monsanto out, is appealing. And that court case would grant Bayer, if the Supreme Court rules in their favor, it would grant them complete immunity from lawsuits, and all other chemical companies as well. So if your father gets cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from using Roundup in his patio, or if he did and he's just starting to appeal, to file for that, he won't be able to sue. Extremely concerning, and we are showing up at the People versus Poison rally on Monday, April 27th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're going to be at the Supreme Court and marching around the Supreme Court. There's going to be a ton of media there. There's going to be a ton of movies. It's going to be live streamed on CHD and the Highwire. Strongly urge you to watch and to support and donate if you can to ICANN, and also Moms Across America has been supporting as well. So please do that. And then if you can be there, please stay for the next day. Moms Across America is going to be lobbying along with some other groups, and we're going to be raising awareness about especially the provisions in the Farm Bill that also give complete immunity to lawsuits. And I'm sorry, I mentioned an acronym. I hate it when people do that. CHD is Children's Health Defense, and ICANN is Informed Consent Action Network. It's the nonprofit section of the Highwire. So in the Farm Bill right now, there are actually 5 or 6 sections: 10202, 10204, 10205, 10206, 10207, and 10211. It's called Subtitle C Part 1, that whole section, which is really atrocious. It's just atrocious. It gives the EPA the legal ability to put business before health by having to consider the benefits of pesticides versus health. They're saying the quiet part out loud and they're making it legal. It gives the EPA the right to push back all pesticide reviews for 5 years. 5 years. You know why they're doing this? Because the glyphosate review is due this year. That's why they want to push it back 5 years. EPA doesn't have to do their job. It gives the chemical companies complete immunity from lawsuits. It wipes out our state and local and court rights. So if you work to get Roundup out of your town, that will go away. If this passes, we have 100,000 people who downloaded the 10 alternatives to Roundup on our website that work to get Roundup out of their towns. All of that would go away if this passes. And then it increases the tolerances of chemicals in the water. So does anybody want more toxin in their water? I mean, this is just, we should all be up in arms about this. And every single one of you should be calling and emailing your representative. And if you don't know who they are, it's time to know. All you do is type in, contact my representative. This is House of Representatives Federal. And it will come up under usa.gov, and you can find them. You can also go to our website and just sign the petition on our website under action. So the other thing is that there's a clause that will reduce all, regulations and stuff like that. So it's just a nightmare for us. Good news is that just today I've been working, round the clock on this, and so have our team and a lot of other groups. And we got, I believe it's 5. Let me see. Shelley Pingree, she's a Democrat. Thomas Massey's a Republican. I don't know what party these other ones are, but Klein, Representative Fitzpatrick, Representative Bober, Representative Vindman, all signed on to have 105, 106, and 107. That's mostly the pesticide immunity clauses taken out of the Farm Bill. So they are all awesome. Representative Luna put up her own one. I don't know why she didn't join this one, but she put up her own, just take those out. So she's paralleling. And Representative Nancy Mace, I believe she's from Florida, actually take out the whole section, that whole Subtitle C, Part 1, all of them. So she did exactly what we asked for. She's our total health hero champion. And so please call your representatives tomorrow and ask them to support that one, which is number 301. It's Amendment 301. Take that out. So I know we're aggressing a little bit from gut health, but this is what will resolve gut health in America, right? If we stop these types of things, our food will be safer. Within 1 to 2 weeks, your gut health will be better. If we get glyphosate and these toxic pesticides out of our food supply, and ideally, you don't even have to buy organic. Food is just food. When your grandmother was eating food, she didn't call it organic. It was just food. right? We didn't have to have organic. So ideally, that would be the case.
Best case
So
scenario, right?
yeah. So
Yes.
and we also have states trying to get local immunity. So you got to keep an eye on what's going on in your states as well as your federal. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit about gut health and what's going on in the world right now today. And I really appreciate you listening.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Zen. Oh my gosh, so amazing. What really struck me was how you shared there was point 0.1, FDA says point 0.1 parts per billion of glyphosate is kind of acceptable and safe. And
Oh,
that,
no, no, no. No, okay, yeah, let me get to that point. So I have it
yeah,
down here too. So Dr. Don Huber says that zero point 0.1 parts per billion of glyphosate should be avoided, right? That is the amount, zero point 0.1 parts per billion. That's a
okay,
very, very, very small amount. But what children and humans can be exposed to today, we have added up the levels that were detected in food, such as oatmeal, hummus, milk, corn chips, berries, pasta, a dessert, orange juice, water, eggs, toast. All of those things, we just took average amounts of what a child would eat of those things throughout the whole day. And what has been detected is 2,484 parts per billion.
yeah,
And what the California Health Hazards Assessment people says is that 1,100 parts per billion would be safe. And when actually independent studies say that zero point 0.1 parts per billion would be safe. And what's allowed on those foods is 6,251 parts per billion if you were
wow,
to add all of that up. So what the government is allowing is not at all what is safe, what they could allow, or what is actually showing
sure,
up. So you have to take actions every day to detox. And I bet Troy or some of the other
yeah,
fantastic speakers are going to have something to say about that. And
yeah.
because there is hope, you can detox.
And it explains a lot why a lot of children, like Cynthia will be sharing later that she is now seeing more kids come in with, you know, that are on the spectrum, than
Absolutely.
features in
It's exactly why.
2008.
Yeah.
And she said,
That and vaccines. We've found glyphosate in vaccines and it's in food
yeah,
because the animal parts that are in vaccines, those animals eat glyphosate and it doesn't wash off. So they're being inundated by glyphosate. We've got to get it banned. We've got to, get rid of it. But
got to get it out
and
of
there is
there.
hope.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Zen.
Yeah.
All
Thank you.
right. All right. Thank you so much for that. All right. Mr. Casey, how you doing, sir? I think you might have one or two things to share about how the body can heal itself. Go ahead and come on in. Share your wisdom with us, sir. Certified Health Nut has he and I we met also out in Arizona. Big thanks to Children's Health Defense for bringing these leaders together and giving me an opportunity to meet some of these folks, these national, spokespersons who are doing just amazing work. And I was really looking forward to meeting Troy, the Certified Health Nut, and he was just as incredible as he is on screen. He was just as incredible as in person.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Larry, and thank you, Zen. I know you're on the front lines. You're doing the most important work that's out there. I became friends with Dave Murphy from Food Democracy Now, and he created this document many years ago, and glyphosate unsafe on any plate, and it corroborates everything that Zen was saying. Point one is the parts per billion. You could detect probable harm just from that, right? And then they tested Cheerios, which is the number one food that they feed to babies after breastfeeding and or nursing. And so it's 1,125 parts per billion. And this was 10 years ago, probably. And so this is the most definitive document that I know of. Maybe there's something newer, and people are always about following the science. There's 114 scientific citations in this document. And so you can probably find it on the internet. It's a PDF downloadable. I printed it out at Kinko's. You can have it, use it on my podcasts often, and share it often. And so glyphosate unsafe on any plate. And so we are being poisoned systematically. This is not conspiracy. In fact, many of the things that were considered fringe back in 2019 are actually becoming policy, or at least being talked about in the mainstream, including vaccines, chemtrails, et cetera. These elements are bioaccumulating in our tissues, and our results never lie. And so 75% of the American people are obese or overweight. I started Certified Health Nut 20 years ago. That statistic was 62%, and 75% is close to 100%, and you are part of 100%. So this is all of our issue. I've been teaching holistic health for 35 years, and ultimately, if we want to see change in the world, we have to become that change ourselves. The gut-brain connection is always there. Our serotonin, our dopamine that affects our brain is manufactured in the gut. All of our neurochemicals, our hormones. And the way I like to explain pesticides and herbicides, they're designed to take out the endocrine system and the nervous system of pests, right? Whether it's plants or animals. And so what does low-level, long-term exposure do to you and me? Well, again, back to the results. 75% of the American people are obese or overweight. Just being fat is not the problem. We have 50% of the population has 2 chronic diseases, and that bleeds over into the children. And the number 2 killer of children 14 to 21 is suicide. That's a spiritual mission abort system that's happening right now. This is a huge alarm. And the biggest thing that you can do, besides what Zen is talking about politically as well, but voting with your dollars. We see what voting does for us, ultimately. Voting with your dollars on your own bloodstream, but also becoming healthy or as healthy as you can in this contaminated environment, and then guiding others to do the same, encouraging others to do the same, supporting your local regenerative, organic, biodynamic farmers, whatever you want to call high quality, because it's all been bastardized and co-opted, right? So you're navigating ultimately what I call World War III is psychological warfare. They realized all the trench warfare in World War II and World War I. They didn't want to do the damage they did in London, Dresden, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. And so they employed MK Ultra and these other CIA operations, including Operation Paperclip and Mockingbird Media. And so we are literally being programmed against our own biology, against our own nature. And if you look at Dr. Bruce Lipton's body of work on epigenetics, it's not so much your genetics, it's how your genetics are expressed. And the way they get expressed is the nutrition that you put into your body and the environment that you live in. So not only are we talking about organic food, but we're also talking about gutting your house of new and improved Tide and half the other commercial garbage that they sell you. The bottom line is you don't want to poison yourself any more than you're already being poisoned. I have a 19 and a 15-year-old. They're extremely intelligent, athletic. They're fit, they're strong, they're cognizant, they're Waldorf children. They were taught how to think, not what to think. And so they are walking, breathing, living principles of this in a toxic world, right? We're still dealing with the bombardment. As Zen said, it can't be washed off, rinsed off. It's ubiquitous and it's pervasive. They found it in women's breast milk, they found it in fetal tissue, and they found it in the Arctic. So this is a big deal, and definitely spending your money on organic food is much cheaper than spending it on the doctors on the back end. Pay the farmer or pay the doctor. Pay now or pay later. It's your choice. Organic food is cheap compared to anything else out there. And here's a news flash. You need less food when you're eating organic. When you have pure nutrition going into your body, you need less food. You don't need these big plates of food that's all contaminated. And it's not just the processed food. My Latin American friends, their families move up here and they have diabetes or obesity within 5 years, and they are eating natural food, tortillas, rice, beans, etc. But as Zen talked about, the corn, 80 to 90% of it is genetically engineered. And then on top of it, if it's not grown organic, it's sprayed with these herbicides and pesticides. Corn is now an allergen. You add to that soy and most grains, because glyphosate is also used as a desiccant. So barley, oats, wheat, any of the bread, you have to source sourdough, starter, heirloom wheat. Prepare your foods. Buy good cookware that's not Teflon. This makes a huge difference. And as Zen said, within months, her children felt better. Within weeks, you will feel better eating organic food. Most of the problems will go away. And then you have to deal with the environment, and we can talk about cleanse and detox. I've been practicing some form of cleanse and detox 4 times a year for the last 35 years, whether that's a liver flush, parasite cleanse, juice cleanse, water fast, dry fast. I'm constantly cleaning the body. I have a sauna at my house. I have a sauna at the gym. I'm sweating. I'm moving my body. I have my 9 pillars of health in my book. I'm happy to send a copy to you guys. The body needs to move. Exercise is a necessity, not a luxury. Walking is the best exercise for the human being. And so you don't need to convolute this. You just need to get back to nature. The sun is the source of all life on planet Earth. When we're eating food, we're eating sequestered sunlight, biophotonic energy. And so you want to be eating foods that either come from green, that's why they call it grass-fed, grass-finished ruminants, because a lot of these grass-fed farms or grass-fed labels in the supermarket, and then they put them in feedlots with this GMO corn and soy. So you want to get the best nutrition that you can source in your local environment. And now with mail order, Joel Salatin, the lunatic farmer, he was in Food Inc. He's an amazing human being. He's been growing biodynamically since 1983. You can go visit his farm in Virginia 24/7. He said he's open for anybody to come on the farm. And so he has mail order on his website. You can find good sources of food mail order if you can't find it in your local area. There's a lot of Mennonite and Amish farmers that have moved all over the nation, and they always have food for sale. So source your food wisely. It is available. Voting with your dollars is actually supporting the farms. If there's no farms, there's no food. If there's no food, there's no life. Be very wise of everything that you're consuming. And again, back to the new and improved Tide. Perfumes, synthetic fragrance, Febreze, candles, all this stuff is poisoning you on top of poisoning you. And we're not even talking about the chemtrails, which has now become public discourse inside the government. So it's no longer a fringe conversation, right? RFK is still talking about this. The fact of the matter is I want to take matters into my own hands with my own family. I don't support these corporations with my dollars.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that. Certified health nut. Yes, sir. Right on, man. Appreciate you so much. Everything that we're doing is about that. It's about learning about where to buy, learning about how to be healthy, learning about the toxins. You know, how this even came up was, our authorized mental health institution talked about them not, that they were treating mental health, that they were doing prevention. But they never mentioned in a 153-page report or proposal, they never mentioned gut health. They never mentioned nutrition. They never mentioned the toxicity in the gut and how it affects mental health. I was blown away by that. And this institution gets $30 million a year to treat mental health issues. And so when you're not talking about, fixing the gut, there's no way you could be talking about treating mental health issues. We're going to go on to now the Gut Diva, the amazing Gut Diva, Tara Lee. Tara, if you would, and share your story.
I don't know if I can, come after Troy's very passionate delivery. That was amazing. Then also some amazing work that you're doing. I'm very science-based. I'm a nurse by origin, and I did hospice work. And when I saw what people were going through at the end of life and really what kind of lifestyle that led them there, especially cancers, it was like, wow, I don't want that for myself and anybody else whose lives I can touch to make a difference. And then I just dove deep into gut health and detox. And then that took me down another rabbit hole where it was like, okay, there's something in the food, right? I mean, that's just what's crazy. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to share about that. So the glyphosates that are sprayed, they're supposed to be only on Roundup ready food crops. So these are crops like corn, soy, cotton, canola, sugar beets, alfalfa. Roundup ready meaning that they're going to not die off along with the weeds. They will survive, but then that toxin soaks into that crop, and then when we eat it, it gets into our tissues, our cells, and so forth. But now the Roundup is being sprayed throughout our food supply as a desiccant. We heard that word a couple times from the other speakers, meaning that it's sprayed to dry the crops, to get them ready for the shelf quicker than allowing them to dry the natural old-fashioned way. And this is especially for grains and beans. It's also used in fields of various fruits and vegetables. So the glyphosate, which is the chief poison in Roundup, is found in varying concentrations throughout our food supply. That's super scary. But independent studies show that organic produce or products consistently have far fewer or lower detectable levels, if any, of glyphosates compared to non-organic. And what I tell my clients is, anymore, there's no such thing as organic because of wind, because of beans, because of it getting into the soil and then the water table and everything like that. But I'd rather have a teaspoon of poison versus a tablespoon versus organic to conventional crops. Very popular crops that are considered bioengineered are apples, canola, corn, cotton. And one thing that made me think, cotton, we don't really eat cotton, but a lot of women use cotton for sanitary, napkins, or the feminine hygiene products. So it's getting absorbed up that way, unfortunately, in the mucosal, very delicate mucosal tissues. Eggplants, potatoes, salmon, soybean, and sugar beets are some more crops. So, if they're not going to get you with the things you ingest, they're going to get you with the things you put on your body or, use internally, unfortunately. Papaya, specifically Hawaiian and Chinese, the little zucchinis, and then the crooked squash, very, very popular for being a GMO. So essentially, these plants do the killing. So BT toxins will poke holes in human cells, which would increase intestinal permeability.
Right.
Our gut is designed to be permeable, to allow the nutrients that have been broken down into micro to be able to get into the bloodstream, but not increased permeability to where, these larger particles and unfavorable, things get into our bloodstream, causing an immune response. So to make matters worse, one of the only human feeding studies ever done on GMOs found that the genes can transfer from a genetically modified crop into the DNA of our gut bacteria. So once we consume it, and if it's a BT toxin food that is designed this way, it can significantly impact the way our gut bacteria works. And then it becomes, the function is just, it starts to, reproduce. So for instance, we eat a corn chip that comes from this corn that is of the BT toxin gene. That gene ends up in our gut bacteria, transferring its code essentially into our gut bacteria inside our small intestines, where 80% of our neurotransmitters are produced, and up to 80% of our immune system is produced. And it continues to function once it's there, and it's now producing this BT toxin 24/7. It's a registered pesticide. The BT toxin is in every cell of this modified plant. So it's like every cell has a pesticide that is, killing off whatever it's designed to kill off.
The fact that the plant is actually a registered pesticide is mind-blowing. And then we get to eat it, right? We get to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were saying, it jacks up the neurotransmitters in the upper intestine. And when those neurotransmitters, that's key to mental health, right?
Right.
And so what is your opinion about the statement that if we're not treating gut disorders, there's no way we could be treating mental disorders? What is your thought on that?
My thought is that all disease starts in the gut, because that is where all of our nutrients, are broken down, and absorption. And then when we have the neurotransmitters that are being interrupted within this area of our small intestines where the bacteria is, good or bad.
Yeah, obvious connections because there's that
Yeah.
gut-brain connection. Thank you so much, Tara. That was amazing information. So informative, and that's why she's the gut diva. She knows so much about this stuff. And now we want to bring it on to Cynthia, who is like sees the end product in her classroom. Cynthia, if you would go ahead and chime in. Tell us your story.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I teach kindergarten, but I have been a teacher since 2008. And back then, you would see a neurodiverse student, maybe in one class out of the whole, grade level. So like out of all the first grade classes, one neurodiverse kid would be in this class, one in that one. But that was really the max back then. And now 2026, I would say probably since COVID, we've been seeing just a huge increase in neurodiverse kids in our classroom. So it's just been really, it's like an epidemic. A new epidemic is these behaviors that we're seeing, and not even just with neurodiverse kids, but also to touch on what Troy was saying, their emotional well-being is just, it's not good because, so with the theory of how children's learn, they need to feel safe, they need to feel fed before they can even learn. So right now, students are coming into the classroom and they are malnourished. They may eat the school lunch, they may eat lunch or breakfast. So they're starving, and yet we are asking them to, learn at this rigorous pace. We're asking them to, have these higher thinking, abilities that we're trying to train them to do, but they're not able to, because when your gut's not right, when, like Tara was saying with the neurotransmitters, you don't feel safe, you have anxiety, they come with telling me about how they're having nightmares every night. So all of these things, the gut is truly connected, and it's not allowing them to truly, learn at the level which we want them to learn. And I know that there have been, like Zen was saying, some schools who have been able to have whole food at their school site, or have these gardens and feed their school with this nutritious food that's not sprayed with chemicals. And I mean, that is a dream of mine, to have my school have their farm on our site without pesticides, without chemicals. And I would love my students to be fed whole food. I was recently at the Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. They're a private school, a wonderful school. But one thing I did notice is that they have a chef who makes whole food for their students. And these kids, they look you in the eye. They're just so emotionally strong. They have all of the things that they need to learn and to succeed. And these kids are coming from low income, impoverished neighborhoods. So really, like, some of them, they only pay $25 a month to attend this very prestigious school. And so it's just beautiful the way that, it brought me to tears to see them at this higher learning ability. And, those needs were met, right? Their emotional needs were met, their nutritional needs were met. So it would be beautiful to get that, on a national level, to back to where we cook real food. We don't cook food in plastic, cook food, food, quote unquote, and then expect our kids to learn. When we're giving them dairy, we're giving them gluten, we're giving them GMO corn, we're giving them high fructose corn syrup in the foods that we're giving them. And so it's really not a mystery when you put it together that gut health equals, mental health, because we see it. and so many teachers, so many administrators are just so frustrated with all the behaviors that they're seeing. But like you said, they're not getting to the root of the problem. They're not changing what the kids are eating. And also, it is like, Zen was saying, that moms, parents, dads, caregivers, everyone, we need to be educated on truly how poisonous all of these foods are to our kids, because we can't be, getting mad at them because they're not able to behave at school when we're not feeding them right. So that's my piece as an educator. We see just so much in the special education teachers. They're overwhelmed, they're overworked, their caseload is huge. They can't handle all of the cases that are coming in, and legally they have to, right? That's their job. But if we could just change this one thing, change how they ate, I know that we would see, so much of a relief on this. And so that's what I have to say as an educator. But on a personal level, I've been eating organic for about 15 years. It completely changed my life. It changed my son's life. I took him off of dyes, high fructose corn syrup, any preservatives, any additives. We started eating organic. He got off of gluten. He used to have panic attacks. He wasn't able to concentrate at school. He was flagged for special education, but he actually, because of his diet, he was able to just continue in general education. I supplemented with omega fatty acids, DHA, and that completely changed him. So I know firsthand as a parent that, food can change a student's ability to learn and succeed. And then just on a personal level, although I was eating organic, my body just kept getting sicker and sicker. So I have had, 4 different autoimmune disorders. I was at a point in my life back in 2023 where I was just waking up with hives all the time. I ended up going to Western medicine, getting on a bunch of harsh medications. My gut was just so bloated that I looked like I was pregnant. I was getting acid reflux. I had to be on these strong medications that were, just wrecking my health. And I didn't want to be on them, but I had to because my face would swell up, my throat would swell every day. And it was just like I couldn't even talk because it was just so tight. I felt like I was going to die. And my doctor told me, don't worry, you're not going to die. You're still going to be able to breathe, but you're just going to feel like that. And I just thought, like, wow, this is the end of my life. Like, I'm never going to get better. I'm just so depressed. I feel awful. I have fibromyalgia, and that was just like going crazy. I could barely, work. I was having to sit down every 5 minutes at work, and I work with kindergartners. And, that was just so hard until I started to detox my body of glyphosate. So there is a solution. I started feeding my body superfoods that are regeneratively farmed, organically grown. I started metal detoxing and just, supporting my body with all of these high vibe foods that just started giving my body what it needed. And I thought, I'm already clean, organic, all my products at home are clean, everything is clean. What more can I do? But it was just amazing. And so I truly love being a health coach, and I just love helping people who, think that there's just never going to be a better quality of life for them, because I was there. I was, miserable. I didn't know, I would forget things like it just happened 1 second ago. I had to write it down. My mental brain fog was just so horrible. But it's just wonderful when you can support your body to get the toxins out, the heavy metals out, and then nourish your body on a cellular level with high vibe foods, and then your whole life changes, because I'm just completely like 100% different person now. My mental health is wonderful. My physical health is wonderful, and I'm just having the time of my life. And so that's why I just share, because, we change lives. And
Yes, you do. Yeah. Thank you, Cynthia. That was amazing. You are super healthy and you're doing really, really good. Yes, Cynthia, you continue to inspire. We love the fact that you are on the front lines and you are able to articulate what is actually happening in the classroom and seeing it firsthand as it unfolds, and how important this work is in terms of educating our parents, educating our families, and educating the leadership in and around the region so that they recognize and understand that there is a gut brain connection, and the possibility of engaging the miracle of the human body is very real when we feed it the right things. So, special thanks out to you, Cynthia, who's a health and wellness coach, a teacher, and a mother. Also, Tara Lee, the Gut Diva. Yeah, thank you for your wisdom and sharing that. Mr. Troy Casey, the certified health nut. Love you, brother. Thank you so much for all you did and all you do. And to Zen Honeycutt, love you so much and the work that you continue to do. Zen Honeycutt with moms across America. Thank you, everybody. Let's give everybody a big round of applause. Yeah?